Chapter 227. I'm very stingy. Wen Xiao had been stripped of his position as the vice chairman of the supernatural branch because of Deng Wei. He had suffered greatly because of Zhu Tui. Wen Xiao was already the vice chairman of a major university like the supernatural branch. If he worked harder, he would become the chairman. If he jumped again, he might become the vice principal. To a certain extent, Wen Xiao's position as the vice chairman of the supernatural branch was much more valuable than Luo Shifeng's position as the director of the neurology department. The department of neurology was only in an auxiliary position and was relatively weak. However, Wen Xiao's position was not just the vice chairman of the supernatural branch. Wen Xiao was also the first-year director of the mystery branch. After all, he was someone who taught 3 public classes for the first years of the mystery branch. Therefore, Zhu Tui had to go over even if Wen Xiao called him over. Just the word announce made Zhu Tui smell an inexplicable malice. When this word was used on students, it often represented a negative meaning. What are you going to announce to me? Zhu Tui looked around and reflected on his actions. He had not done anything wrong. He could not be more disciplined. Even if he skipped class, he had to apply for leave from Mr. Bian Yuan. Zhu Tui called Bian Yuan as he rushed over. The vice teacher of the School of Enlightened Mind, Bian Yuan, was definitely a hardcore supporter of the School of Enlightened Mind. Announcement? Bian Yuan was also confused by Zhu Tui's doubts. He did not know either. You can go first. It should be fine. Let me know if you have any problems, Bian Yuan replied to Zhu Tui. 10 minutes later, Zhu Tui arrived at Wen Xiao's office. He knocked on the door and entered. Mr. Wen, you were looking for me? Yes. Wen Xiao nodded. He suddenly took a document and handed it to Zhu Tui. Take a look at this document. It's good that you know about this. After all, you are also a genius first-year student of our mystery branch. I won't announce this punishment publicly. Punishment? Zhu Tui took the document and glanced at it. His brows furrowed tightly, and his expression turned ugly. Zhu Tui, a first-year student of the mystery branch, has missed 52 classes during the 3-month protection period. According to the rules of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College, students who skip more than 30 classes during the protection period will be given a warning and punishment as a warning. Under the document was the official seal of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College's mystery branch. The official seal of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College's Academic Affairs Office. And the official seal of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College's Year 1 mystery branch. Finally, there was the signature of the year head, Wen Xiao. The date was September 13, 2137, which was today's Monday. Announcement. Zhu Tui instantly understood what Wen Xiao meant by his announcement. This was an instant reality. Therefore, he had come directly to announce it to Zhu Tui. As for Wen Xiao's actions of not reading it out loud, it was purely a favor. Mr. Wen, I've written a leave of absence note for all the classes that I didn't attend. I have a reason for doing so. I've also left back up with Mr. Bian Yuan. Is there a mistake in this warning? Zhu Tui questioned. Zhu Tui would not be so foolish as to ignore the school rules and skip classes. On the contrary, the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College paid more attention to teaching flexibility. If a student felt that their progress was ahead of schedule, they could directly greet the teacher. After obtaining the teacher's approval, they could even skip this class. For a period of time, he would focus on studying in a certain area or even on clearing missions. He only needed to apply for leave to explain the situation. The school rules made it clear that students would not be given a punishment just because they applied for leave. That was why Zhu Tui asked that question. Wen Xiao smiled in the face of Zhu Tui's doubts. Fortunately, you wrote a leave of absence note. You have a reason for everything. Otherwise, you'll miss up to 52 lessons during the protection period for new students. You won't be able to escape as a probationary student. Zhu Tui frowned. Mr. Wen, I remember the school rules very clearly. Our school is in charge of individualized and flexible learning. You can take a normal leave of absence and focus on cultivating a certain ability. In the school rules, there has never been a warning of punishment after a certain number of missed classes have been accumulated? Zhu Tui argued. It seems that Zhu Tui has a thorough understanding of the school rules. Wen Xiao smiled and took out another document for Zhu Tui. He flipped to one of the pages and handed it to Zhu Tui. Our school has a new student enrollment management regulation. I wonder if Zhu Tun has read it? Zhu Tui's expression turned ugly. During the protection period of the new students' growth, if they missed more than 30 classes and could not correct their mistakes after being reminded, they would be punished. The management conditions for new students were only effective for 3 months. It was until the day after tomorrow. Zhu Tui had overlooked this point. He had not paid attention to this temporary rule. He did not expect Wen Xiao to be waiting for him here. Mr. Wen, the rules state that you can only be punished if you don't correct your mistakes after being reminded. You didn't do that, right? Zhu Tui, you can't speak nonsense. Look at your personal communication device. I sent you 2 short messages on August 15th and September 2nd. Wen Xiao smiled gently. Zhu Tui quickly flipped through the messages and found the 2 messages again. The message was short. Zhu Tui, come and participate in combat training when you have time. It's not good to miss classes all the time. Zhu Tui, if you have time, you should come to the combat training class. It will be beneficial to you. The content of the 2 messages had the intention of reminding him, but it did not involve the level of punishment. At this moment, Zhu Tui completely understood that Wen Xiao was deliberately setting a trap for him. If Wen Xiao said in the message that he might be punished if he missed any more classes, Zhu Tui would definitely attend the class. Since Wen Xiao was deliberately targeting him, there was no point in arguing. The public seal of the various institutions in the school had been stamped. As for this warning punishment, the director of the grade could actually submit it to the academy for review. After the academy reviewed it, they could send it to the Academic Affairs Office of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College to be stamped. Zhu Tui was well aware of the operating system. However, it was useless. Most importantly, this warning punishment was actually very light. The punishment would only last for 3 months. It would be automatically revoked after 3 months. It basically did not affect the students' normal studies. There was only one effect after the students of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College received a warning. Their personal rating would drop by 1 level during the 3-month period. Zhu Tui instantly got to the point. The comprehensive assessment of the freshmen of the 2137th batch of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College was about to begin. The most important basis for a freshman's comprehensive evaluation was the student's level. Zhu Tui's personal level had been reduced by 1 level due to the warning. This meant that Zhu Tui's comprehensive assessment would also be reduced by 1 level. Originally, it would not have been easy for Zhu Tui to get first place in the individual comprehensive assessment among the first-year students of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College, where geniuses were as common as clouds. He would have to rely on additional points to ensure that he got first place. For example, obtaining the position of the dragon of the first year. But now, this warning was like taking drastic measures to reduce the punishment. In that case, even if Zhu Tui obtained extra points for being the dragon, he would not be able to obtain first place in the comprehensive evaluation of the freshmen. Zhu Tui instantly understood everything. And Zhao Xoxui had previously instructed Zhu Tui to try his best to get first place in the freshman comprehensive assessment. She only instructed him to do his best. However, Wen Xiao had already dug a huge hole for Zhu Tui. He directly cut off the possibility of Zhu Tui obtaining first place in the comprehensive assessment. Zhu Tui was furious. This Wen Xiao was too f-king sinister. However, everything about him was reasonable, including the so-called reminder. Even if Zhu Tui wanted to reason things out, he had no place to do so. Wen Xiao had taken everything. As for the fact that the message did not involve a warning, it could not be taken seriously. At the thought of this, Zhu Tui suddenly let go. In an instant, in his mind, Wen Xiao had turned from a teacher to an enemy. That was right. Zhu Tui's definition was that simple. Teachers needed to be respected. The enemy did not need it. Under Wen Xiao's slightly surprised gaze, Zhu Tui suddenly pulled over a chair and sat down facing Wen Xiao. This action was a little rude. However, he could not find any flaws in the existing rules and regulations. Therefore, Wen Xiao still had a smile on his round face. It was the smile of a victor. Mr. Wen, Do you think this is fun? You dug such a big hole for me in the first place in the comprehensive assessment of a freshman. For the research funds allocated to the Research Institute. Is it interesting? Is it fun? Actually, there was another keyword that Zutui did not mention: extraterrestrial spot. Most importantly, and Zhao Soxui had mentioned that the first place in the individual comprehensive assessment represented that the spot for extraterrestrial could be directly obtained. However, and Zhao Soxui said that this involved confidentiality, so Zutui did not bring it up. In fact, the most fundamental thing was the extraterrestrial spot. Wen Xiao was still smiling as he said, "Zutui, this warning and punishment is just so that you can correct your learning attitude. There was no other meaning. Moreover, it would not affect you." The 3-month warning period passed quickly. That's right, Zutui nodded vigorously. Mr. Wen, you're right. The 3-month warning period will be over soon. However, Mr. Wen, I have to tell you something. Zutui looked very serious. Shoot. Mr. Wen, I'm a very stingy person. This is especially so for the things in my pocket. If others take them away without my permission, I will fight them to the death, Zutui said very quietly. He seemed to be joking, but he did not seem to be joking at all. Zutui, stop fooling around. We didn't take anything from you, Wen Xiao said with a smile. You took it, Zutui spoke very firmly. Wen Xiao frowned. On Sieve warning is given, my personal rating will drop by a level. According to the treatment I currently enjoy, I will be deducted a bottle of level E energy restoration elixir every month. I would be deducted a total of 3 bottles of level E energy restoration elixir. You're the one who caused this. You asked for it. Remember that. After saying that, Zutui turned around and left. He slammed the door shut. The moment the door closed, Zutui forcefully suppressed all his anger. There was only calmness in his mind. There was still a plan that needed to be completed. In the office, Wen Xiao smiled and shook his head. Zutui's talent was not bad. It was just that he had entered the wrong department. He was still a little inexperienced.